Today, before the mirror, we put the mountain as a whole, but other than the mountain, we put the Jubilee Party and Honorable Jeremiah Kioni before the mirror. The reason we're putting them before the mirror is because of the interests that are enveloping from the mountain. One, the comeback of the Jubilee Party. Two, and what Jeremiah has had to deal with to defend the previous government while securing a chance for the Kenyan people to support the next government. It calls for a reflection, and so we put them before the mirror so that we can have a bigger image, a clear reflection of what everything is being portrayed ahead of 2027 by elections, 2027 major elections. So let's start with the mountain. The mountain region is a very solid part of Kenyan politics if history is detailed right. And I have to say if history is detailed right because we have had previously certain things in history being codified to favor a narrative. Example, the 30% vote that comes from the mountain region. It is not really so certain because we have not opened the IBC servers lately to see whether or not until this point, for you to win the Kenyan presidential seat, you need 30% of the votes from the mountain region. And if those 30% of the votes from the mountain region, as they have been previously called, are really actually 30% of the entire voting mass. The Kenyan population grows high. If you look at our new introduction of new tribes, we have introduced a lot of new tribes into the Kenyan space, whose population are also high. And we have not consistently done a political analysis and demarcation or counting the percentage of what comes from what region. But we believe that from previous political narratives, 30% of what determines who becomes the president in this country comes from the mountain region. Now let's look into that 30%. Another episode that we did somewhere else at the Civic Lands, we detailed what consists of the 30%. It will not be my main subject here at the People's Mirror, but I will just borrow a bit on what entails the 30%. In the 30%, we have over 12 parties from the mountain region that wants a chunk of that 30%, controls a chunk of that 30%, and would want to come to the table with a chunk of that 30% on the second Tuesday of August in 2027. Now, are all these 12 parties speaking the same language over the 30%? The answer is a resounding no. And we detail them, you can count them later on in dear detail from PNU to Safina to Jubilee to DCP to PLP to whatever party that comes from the mountain region has an interest tied to it on the second Tuesday of the August of 2027. But while all these interests are being championed, one individual wants to subdue all the interest and have the bigger voice. A wrong word. One individual has subdued all these 12 parties and have gained the upper voice. And while he's doing this, he wants to do this to consolidate the 30% behind one umbrella so that they can determine who becomes the president in 2027. But as days keep going near to 2027, it seems like the hope, the dream to build one umbrella for 2027 keeps crumbling. And so this man that has consolidated the entire region and has a voice over it now seeks helps from neighboring parts of the mountain to consolidate the solid base of the mountain. So before the mirror today is the 8 million votes that is assumed to be coming from Mount Kenya really 8 million votes? And is the 8 million votes, if there were really 8 million votes from Mount Kenya, going to rally behind one individual? If you look at the mountain right now, the 8 million votes could be or could not be 8 million votes. And whether the 8 million votes will rally behind the mountain, behind one individual, Safina party leaders made it very clear, Honorable Jimmy Wanjigi, that no, that is not going to be the sheep he's going to mount on. PNU party leader Peter Munya has also said no, that might not be the sheep that is going to mount on. We don't know what Kabogo's party will say now that he's already in government, whether this is going to be the ship that he will mount on. But we definitely know what the Jubilee party is saying now that we're also putting them in front of the mirror come 2027. And the Jubilee party now, in front of the mirror, as an image, is a particular party that survived 10 years of pure excellence. Excellence in success of a political party, not excellence in running a government. And over the 10 years of being a successful political party, when they were handing over to now the new regime, went down the trail of court cases and almost died a natural death if it was not saved with the Mutamaki of the region, the prince himself, and the party leader of that party, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta. Now the Jubilee party is back, and they are speaking to compensate for all the times they have been absent. But one thing that is very, very clear from their speech is that they might be in the united opposition right now through their candidate, but they are not comfortable being termed members of the united opposition. So let's put the Jubilee party in front of the mirror and find out why they would have a candidate within the united opposition and not be comfortable to identify with the united opposition. You see, having a candidate within the united opposition is the only timely thing right now in Kenyan politics, because all politicians are now going to two divides. Are you Ruto or are you against Ruto? The test of Kenyan's politics now has been set on one individual, William Ruto, whether you are with him or you are against him. And so this gives the Jubilee party no choice, because if they do not identify against William Ruto, then of course they are identifying with William Ruto. And the effect of that politically is that it might subdue certain of their interest politically come 2027. So the Jubilee party have played an interesting game. They have put their candidate to join the united opposition, sit in there, plan with the united opposition as one of them, contribute to the united opposition's plan as one of them, you dare say, even get the secrets of the united opposition, but then go back to their National Executive Committee independently and decide their way come 2027. And the united opposition has actually realized this particular play with the DCP party. And they are treating the DCP party candidate a little with caution. When the DCP party candidate was attending the National Executive Special Delegates Committee, they didn't show up. The defense, they were not invited, and that was a special meeting. We understood. When the DCP party candidate now joined the rest of them in the later conferences on Wiper and such like things, you'd see the statements. When the Jubilee party were holding their National Delegates Committee, the National Delegates Special Committee, the united opposition did not show up. Reason? This was a special meeting, they were not invited. We understood. Now, when the united opposition attended Wiper's National Delegates Committee, the entire united opposition were there, including the Jubilee party candidate. But one thing was very, very clear, that whenever they were making statements in these particular conferences that they have ever attended, it is more clear that Martha is willing to support Kalonzo, calling Kalonzo a pacha. Rigathi is more willing to support Kalonzo, talking about the Mount Kenya South Agreement to support Kalonzo. The others, DAP's candidate Eugene Wamalwa and Justin Muturi, just seems to be looking like flower girls. And the only individual that consistently keeps being outlined or sidelined, pardon me, is Honorable Matiang'i, who is the Jubilee party candidate. So the united opposition has realized the ploy of the Jubilee party to stay with them, understand them, and in the statements of their Secretary General, perhaps bolt out of the 2027 by-election. So in the mirror, the Jubilee party looks like a survivor that has been there before and wants to have a transition period now with the current government in play, while planning itself to come back again. Inside it, they believe that they can come back again now that they have taken a keen consideration of their mistakes in 2022, mistakes that they will not according to them, repeat again in 2027. And they want to come back believing that if they sustained this country for 10 years and survived, then they can possibly get another 10 years. So they are looking at their previous record and their previous mistakes, and they are hoping to develop from their previous record and previous mistakes to hit the Kenyan political ground again in 2027. But what are their supporters saying? For the Jubilee Party, the mountain region might not be its space anymore. For two reasons. One, the candidate that they are fronting for the mountain region is not himself a kingpin, nor is he from the mountain region. And so that might be really difficult to consolidate an entire backing of 8 million votes on a foreigner in their land. Another thing that the Jubilee Party is facing within the mountain is that it is not the new party anymore. The DCP party is now the new favorite, and they have walked into this particular space with one intention: to demystify the favoritism of the Jubilee Party in the mountain area. On top of that, the Jubilee Party is joining the scene with a lot of court cases weighing them down and late after alignments have previously been formed. Yet, they are coming with solid demands that can disrupt the entire arrangements they are finding. So the Jubilee Party in front of the mirror might be holding to a lost pride, might be hoping to reconsolidate themselves ahead of 2027, but in front of the mirror they are looking so weak, they are looking so disorganized, and they are looking so late. So let's put the general and their secretary general, that's Honorable Jeremiah Koini, on the spot in front of the mirror and cover his statements and reflect them as an image. His first TV appearance after court cases, he says that either the united opposition or the highway. And if they are having a ticket within the united opposition, then it is Jubilee or the highway. This does not sit right with Rigathi Gachagua, who has built his legacy to demystify the dominance of the Jubilee Party in that area. Neither does it sit well with Honorable Kalonzo, who feels like if not 2027, then never. Martha, who feels like the Jubilee Party had served its purpose and is now not officially within the united opposition, even if Matiang'i sits there, would not want to play a second fiddle for the 8 million votes that comes from her backyard to a whole man that comes from a different particular backyard and who is not even a kingpin in his own backyard. So kingpinship politics, Jeremiah Koini says, might be Moi politics, but still plays a key role in the Mount Kenya region dynamics. So what are we looking at? We're looking at his latest TV statement. So now he's saying it's not a competition between Matiang'i and Gachagua. Neither is it a competition between Kalonzo and Martha or Eugene and Muturi or Muturi and Gachagua. No, it's a competition between each of them against Ruto. And now the Jubilee Party, through their Secretary General, wants the entire nation to look at these individuals who have declared interest for presidency individually against President Ruto. And in doing that, the Secretary General is confident that the person that fits the bill is Honorable Matiang'i, who is the Jubilee Party candidate. So the Jubilee is in the mirror as a lonely runner who wants to run, but is still under the comfort of individuals to listen to strategy, but will still eventually run alone. And also depicts a group of individuals who are so late to the table, yet are coming with demands that can overturn the table if they are granted. They still feel like there is no individual other than the party, one for the mountain, and there is no party other than the party for the mountain, and there is no individual fit to oust Ruto other than the individual from their party. This is coming even if the individual is facing so much resentment in that region for the dues he did in his service in the previous Jubilee government one, and for the fact that he is not from the mountain. It would be very difficult to give him the mountain keys. In the mirror, the Jubilee Party is weak, is late, and is arrogant. The Jubilee Secretary General tries to consolidate the arrogance, the lateness, and the weakness while still dealing with the demons of the party. And the mountain, not decided whether they will rally behind one individual or they will go against the one individual by dividing their votes in factions. And that is the people's mirror.